to add to that. So there's nothing that we can't do. In the Bible also, I was thinking about when Joshua was leading the children of Israel. Moses had died now, and he was leading the children of Israel, and they were about to cross the Jordan River. And before that, they go into Canaan, and they, along with Caleb and 10 other spies, Jewish spies, they go to the land to see what's in the land. And they come out with different reports. One report is a report based on fear. There are giants in the land, probably descendants of Nephilim from ages past, like David and Goliath, that story, that Goliath type. And there were huge edifices in the land and fortifications all over the place that were impregnable in their minds. But then Joshua and Caleb come back with the report that there is a way we can do it. There is a way we can conquer the land with God's help. We can do this. And they want to even assault, Joshua and Caleb because of their report that was so positive. And it just strikes me as very interesting because of all the miracles that they just witnessed. They were slaves in a foreign country. They were released en masse. They were promised the promised land. God fed them in the desert, took care of them. 40 years of wandering in a desert. How long would you survive in the desert? 40 years. They never even needed a new pair of shoes. Think about that. With all the rocks and the hot sand and everything. But anyway, God showed them miracle after miracle after miracle. They left Egypt with the wealth of Egypt. And what did they do? They didn't think that God could do this for them. They complained. They practiced idolatry. They made idols. They made the famous idol of the calf in the desert of gold. And their unbelief. And it was their unbelief then that kept them from going into the promised land. The Bible tells us that only Caleb and Joshua were able to go into the promised land, along with anybody who was younger than 20 years of age. And, all because of their unbelief in what God could do. God is immeasurable. God is without limits. And I think sometimes, how it is in our lives, the things that we think that we can't get through because of our own limitations. You see, Satan gives us those limitations because that's what he's all about. He's all about devouring us, about destroying our lives, taking our lives if he can, taking our faith, taking our beliefs. He wants nothing good for us. And God allows that to happen. Because God, for every wall that Satan sets up, God has given us a breach in that wall. He's given us a way, an escape to go through, that he carries us through that breach. The Amplified here. No temptation, regardless of its source, has overtaken or enticed you that is not common to human experience. Nor is any temptation unusual or beyond human resistance. But God is faithful to his word. He is compassionate and trustworthy. And he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability to resist. But along with the temptation, he has in the past and is now and will always provide the way out as well. So that you will be able to endure it without yielding and will overcome temptation with joy. So not only does our faith and does our hope take us through something, it takes us through with a joy in knowing that God is with us, that he's behind us. He's the wind, beneath our wings, as the song would say. He's what takes us to that final victory. We do our part, and we ask for his aid, and we trust in his promises. That's why it's so important, like Pastor Brad was saying, that we know the word. We know what his promises are. His word says he'll never leave us or forsake us. So why do we think that we're alone in things? Why do we think that we have nowhere to go? That we're hopeless? He's the God of hope. He's the anchor of our faith. And I just think it's pretty incredible, the idea that every obstacle has a breach. Every wall has a way through it with God. If we seek it, if we believe in it. And so Joshua takes those under 20 and he takes Caleb across the Jordan River into the Promised Land. And he gives the blessing then to Caleb for the inheritance of the land. And one thing I think is notable too, that when we choose God's aid in something that seems to be impossible to us, and we let him work through it, that those blessings don't just come to us, but they're actually passed down through generations. A lot of times by your testimony of what God has done. And so you are allowing the continuance of our faith, the continuance of who God is in many generations by being obedient and by being faithful to the Word. I don't know if you ever thought of it like that. It's not just for us, it's for the future. Blessed reading.